for the Business Competence Center in the competences IT, finance, human resources, and procurement. And for those who doesn't know the Austrian Railways, we are Austria's biggest mobility and logistics company with more than 40,000 people. We're the most successful cargo operator within Europe, and our core value is safety. So that's a short introduction about the Austrian Railways. And in the next few minutes, I will talk about our future, and not the future with building tunnels, railway station, and so on, about our digital future and our digital challenge, perhaps interesting for you as developers. But before, I have to switch back only a few seconds to our history. And the railway history is, in our case, 180 years old. We are a very old company, like most of the railway companies. We are an integrated company, we are an operator, we have services, and we have the tracks, we have the infrastructure. And 180 years means that we have a specific culture in our companies. 40,000 people, most of them in the second and the third generation, so they have a special behavior, and we have to transform this behavior. And therefore you should know that development of railways always depends on two important factors. The factor one is obviously the technological progress, and the second thing is a bad thing, accidents. Accidents with injured people, with died people. Technology and accidents are mainly responsible for development of railways, and development of railways was never evolution or was never revolution, it was evolution, continuous improvement. So disruptive things like happened in the next years and happened at the moment, we are not familiar with this kind of behavior, so we have to think about it. But now from the past to the future, if you ask politicians, if you ask evangelists, opinion leader, whatever, you get always the same buzzwords. Buzzwords like integrated mobility, one ticket for all, hyperloop, city logistic, urban mobility, integrated mobility. And most of them are the same answers all around the world. It's a little difficult, a difficult switch from Asia to Europe. They have other problems than here, but the buzzwords are almost the same. And they are very interesting buzzwords. For example, what do you understand under urban mobility? One of the most exciting topics at the moment is urban air mobility, quadcopters, singlecopters for city logistics and so on. A huge problem for the regulatory, because if everybody has its own drone or its own quadcopter to transport goods, you get also a traffic jam in the air and so on and so on. So we had a lot to think, but most of the buzzwords are not reality yet. Most speak about it, but they are not reality, but these are goals. And these are also our goals at the Austrian Railways, in the Austrian transport system, in the Austrian transport companies. I pick up the integrated mobility thing. You know, integrated mobility means combining different transport modes. For example, the railway, the airplane, the coach, the cars, the taxis, the Ubers, the bikes, and so on. But it looks relatively clear and easy to combine this. But combination of these different transport modes is the same problem like developing or redeveloping old software. You have a problem with the interface, you have a problem with the integration layer, and the integration layer is sometimes not software, it's concrete. For example, in a railway system, you have a railway station built in the 60s, so 1960, in a suburban region. In the 60s, people are walking to the railway station, they are cycling to the railway station, they are driving by mopeds, and some are driving by car. The shift in the year 2018 is completely different. No one is walking. Cycling is split in e-bikes, normal bikes, mopeds, no mopeds anymore here, e-scooters sometimes, and a lot of cars. And the railway station in the 60s outside of the city area is now inside the city area. So we have no space. So, and our challenge is to know what is 10 years later, what is 20 years later, to the different modal split for us. For example, if you own an e-bike, the e-bike costs 3,000 euro. You don't let your 3,000 euro e-bike unchained at the railway station, and so on and so on. You're afraid. So we have to respect these personal belongings, we have to respect the different modes, and so on and so on. So it's difficult to contain. It's not only a software problem, it's also a behavior problem. And if you look at the definition, only short definition, because we need the first sentence, integrated mobility for a definition maker is a technology enabled, and here's the important thing, that digitization will enable integrated mobility. That's the necessary part. Also concrete, also technology, whatever, but digitization is the most important part. Any delivery of real-time door-to-door multimodal travel, what's the sentence, the key impression of this sentence? End-to-end mobility and end-to-end logistic. End-to-end means from your living room to your office, from your factory to the consumer. That's end-to-end, not from railway station to railway station. End-to-end, the next thing. And then encompassing pre-trip, in-trip and post-trip service. Everybody wants to have information in real time, before, during, and after traveling. That's important, because in our terms, the social medias are not, this is not good for us if social media are faster in giving information to our customers, to our own customer information. That's a competition. That's a real-time competition. And what's the benefit? Bringing convenience. We give you time to work, to talk, to play, whatever. Time and cost savings. Because you lose time, you lose convenience, you lose whatever at the interface and so on for the mobility user. And that's the main challenge of the most highly developed train operators. Integrated mobility is also one goal for some car manufacturers, for some other platform owners and so on. So we are in a competition. And we have no time. We have no 180 years time. We have 2 years time, 3 year times, 4 year times to compete against Daimler, to compete against BMW, to compete against whatever. So we have to establish some things, and you know these things, we have to establish platforms. An easy PowerPoint chart, but in reality not so easy to implement, because it's not a question of technology, it's a question of culture, a question of negotiation, a question of collaboration, and so on. If you have the platform, what should the platform do for us? It should give information, not only reading the schedule. Real-time information, it's not very challenging. Routing, everybody's saying routing is easy. Routing is tricky, because routing is, in my opinion, the difficultest thing at this platform, because the routing algorithm, the routing device can favor some company. So you can influence the competition. So routing must be transparent, routing must be fair, routing must have clear rules, and the routing must be dynamic, real-time routing. It's not a question of technology and of algorithms. It's a question of transparency. The third thing is payment, that's commodity. And the fourth thing is clearing, it's also commodity. So it looks not very difficult. The platform, implementing a real-time platform is also not but difficult. But the difficulty is at the right side. The different companies are not willing to cooperate because they are afraid to give data to the competitors and so on. That's the showstopper for integrated platforms in the mobility sector. The owners of the companies on the right side are partially state-owned, the other private, and so on, different cultures and so on. But this construction here, the platform with this necessary information and then clearing algorithms is necessary to improve the quality of transportation, of logistics and so on within the European, Austrian, worldwide transport system. And we have to establish such a platform in the next 2 to 3 years, because otherwise another player will establish such a platform. And this is the real long-term goal from the Austrians, the Italian railways, the German, whatever. Possibly also a long-term goal from Daimler, BMW, and so on. So we have competition. That's the explanation before. What is now our challenge? We are 40,000 people, and we have, I say, a two-speed world. Speed 1 and speed 2, that's not, speed 1 is not better than speed 2. With one part, a hierarchical part, a long-term part, and so on. Because if you have a multi-billion euro project, like a tunnel, agile development is not the proper approach to build a tunnel with a multi-billion euro investment. But for platforms, is the waterfall principle or is a 10-year project not the proper approach? So we have to balance these both parties within our company, and we have above 30,000 people with speed 1 and 10,000 people in speed 2. But they have to cooperate with each other and they have to work together. And that's not easy. That's pressing and strengthening our company at the moment, and we have to establish in the next 1 to 2 years the basic principles how we work together. And this work together is completely different to working together in the last 180 years. That's our biggest challenge, to attract people in our company and to improve the railway business. A small example, because we are at the developers conference. We have a traditional ticket shop in the traditional passenger service company. Many thousand people are work there. The ticket shop is a software, is a sales channel software for the sales channels, smartphone, internet, ticket machines, conductors, and the ticket counters. So this is the single source of truth. And in the ticket shop software, we try to develop new features. You can book a ticket from Vienna to the urban region of Villach, for example, and you have also the Villach ticket. Ticket shop has the goal to have one ticket channel with one look and feel, and with integrating different, I say, transport companies, municipal and state-owned traffic companies, so cooperation. I say multi-million euro project. Very, very expensive, but most tickets we sell about the ticket shop. That's the, I say, speed 1.5. They are very quick, but it's okay. But we have initiated a second initiative in another company, in a startup company. It's called iMobility, also a company within the ÖBB group. It's called Wegfinder, in English it's called Pathfinder, with 20 people, approximately 20 people. The other people are a huge organization, where we try to get the integrated mobility approach with different players. You see the branding is not ÖBB branding, it's Wegfinder, it's a neutral branding. We combine others, like also our competitors, also Uber, whatever, so on, to try out what is happening with combining the different transport modes. And why in a different company? Why not in the passenger service company? Because the culture is not ready. If you can't develop in a team one, I say the major software responsible for more than 1 billion revenues on the one side. On the other side, you have 20 people. They should develop the competition tool. The management has a problem with steering project A and project B. So we decided to build a startup, to create a startup with a partner. We let grow this startup. We give them a different culture, other rules, other governance. And with this dual strategy, we try to develop the traditional channels and a new channel. And if they are ready to fuse, we will see when it's time. Then we combine these abilities we have approached in the last 2 years with Project a multi-million euro project, and a single million project like this startup. And the key message I will give you as developer and so on, we don't have problems with technology and with development. We have problems with combining different cultures. We have combining different transport modes, and these are the real challenges for a railway company. And therefore, we need people, we need staff who can help us to redevelop the railway system within the next 2 to 4 years. Thank you.